Anyone who knows me knows that I like to make life my personal runway, okay? I may not be on America's Next Top Model, but if there was a version for undocumented immigrants, she would be there. No, that's just me being extra, y'all. So, as usual for any of my friends who knows me, but I just wanted to take a moment to talk to you all about something that I call my grandmother's child. Right? And oftentimes you are your mother's child. But in the case of undocumented immigrants who lack the privilege of being able to go back to their homes that they once called their homes of origin, right? We don't have that same privilege of being able to go back home. I was born in Belize, Central America, and I immigrated to the United States at the age of 7 years old. At that time, I did so without my mother, without my father, and without my siblings. In every sense of the word, I was an unaccompanied minor. I'm sure you all have heard that before. My grandmother, in her late 60s, made the decision to want to bring me here to the United States of America. Why did she do that after raising 7 children as a single mother? That is the power of immigrants, that's the power of motherhood, and that is the power of grandparents and grandmothers in particular. Oftentimes, we like to say that life could have been different if for one decision being different. But in my case, my entire life could have been different if I had remained in Belize, Central America. For those of you who do not know, Belize is a small country in Central America that borders Guatemala, a country of under 500,000 people. And still yet, whenever people ask, Denae, where are you from? No, where are you from? I say Belize, and they say, where is that? And then they say, Africa? And the reason why is because for a lot of people, it's often hard for them to fathom what being Black and undocumented and a woman is like because of the stereotypical notions in which they have of Black immigrants. I, for one, stand in my power as a Black, undocumented woman, the epitome and the antithesis of what they want us to be in these United States of America. They want me and my brothers and sisters in this movement, Black, AAPI, Latinx, to feel shame, to keep our heads down, because they don't want us to be the epitome of fabulosity. They want us to hang our heads in shame. And if there is any one thing my grandmother taught me, it is to take pride and honor in what she raised me to be. And that is a strong, independent woman who was able to attend and graduate from the University of California, Los Angeles, in which people had told me that I would never make it. Because why? That is the power and the foresight of the Black woman, of the mother, in being able to see you before you yourself know who you are. That is the power of the mother. And for me, my grandmother is my mother. While my maternal mother is still alive, what this country has been able to do is separate me from her for more than 15 years, to the point in which I've missed births, in which I've missed deaths, like the death of my grandfather, to which there's been experiences and stories that I can never relate to. Why? Because I have not been able to call my country of origin a home for more than 16 years. Imagine this. In 2016, as a student at the University of California, Los Angeles, I was able to study abroad in Spain, London, and Morocco, all before I could be home and reunite with my own mother. Imagine that. Imagine having lived in the United States of America for so long and sharing classrooms with people who are the sons and daughters of millionaires and billionaires. Proving yourself For what reason? All to be told that you do not belong, you are unworthy, and you are not here to stay. Imagine that. Imagine resisting in a world that's still fighting back and telling us that the place in which we've resided will never be home to us. But the power of having a grandmother as a mother is having someone who, if you believe in God like I do, that stays on their knees and prays for you more than they pray for themselves. It's having a grandmother who, even though she may fight back and say, Denae, I don't know if I want you to share your story. Denae, I don't know if I'm fine with you being the guest at the State of the Union. Denae, I don't know if I'm okay with you going out because I've heard this and I've heard that. You know, our parents like to pretend they're the new commentators on CNN. They like to be the political and social pundits and tell us what the future of these United States look like. But even with all her hesitation about my future in this country and the way in which my story will be met by people who hear that I'm a Black, undocumented woman, she still manages to support me, to motivate me, and to encourage me to dream a dream that she herself never thought that she could. Imagine that. That's our mothers, that's our fathers, that's our grandparents, those are our aunts and uncles who paved the way for us, the original dreamers, who did not know that there would ever be something called DACA. Never knew that there would be programs that provided temporary status they never knew, but they still dreamt of something beyond themselves. And for that reason, I am eternally grateful for my grandmother and to be my grandmother's child. But similarly, we must also push back against a narrative that tells us that family separation is a new concept. I've been separated from my family for 16 years. Yet you hear this administration and this media say that family separation only started in 2018. Family separation started long ago, before the media had a name for it, before there was a US-Mexico divide. Family separation has been so long as immigration and these laws that shouldn't even be that have been in existence. Family separation is real. Family separation means that being my grandmother's child and knowing that my grandmother has this idea of her final wish being that the day when she closes her eyes, she wants to be flown back to Belize. Being my grandmother's child means that as a DACA recipient, in which next week we'll have Supreme Court oral arguments, means that while that is my grandmother's final wish, I might never be there to witness it. That is what it means to be my grandmother's child in an era of family separation that has long existed in this nation. But it also means being the embodiment of every dream, every idea, every notion, and every want that my grandmother has ever had, and living up to that right now. Because my grandmother likes to say this thing: give somebody their flowers, meanwhile they're alive. And I'm sure you all have heard that. For a long time, I would shake my head, I would say, Grandma, why are you talking like that? But all that means to me is being unapologetic, being undocumented, being unafraid, and being unapologetic about who I am, about who she's raised me to be, and knowing that while I may not see that day in Belize, Central America, that I would have done everything in my power here in these United States to be the living embodiment, not just of my grandmother, but of your grandmother and your grandmother and your grandmother, and being the living embodiment of my ancestors who paved the way for me to be here and stand unapologetically as I am right now. Being my grandmother's child means being okay with the fact that liberation, right? Because for many undocumented people, we consider liberation to be that of citizenship. Well, boy, do I have some news for you. Black people, my ancestors, have been citizens, yet have been deprived of the very nature of what it means to be considered a citizen in the United States of America. Breaking news, indigenous people of whose lands we reside on have long been deprived of the opportunities and the notions of citizenship. Liberation, in my mind, is a matter of advocating for those who might not feel as though they have the voice and the opportunity to do so in their day-to-day life. And knowing that it might not happen next week, the week after that, next year for that matter, but being okay with this notion that we will one day reach a state in which you believe that my liberation is bound to yours. Thank you.